Welcome, I'm Tracy Smith, and this is Here Comes the Sun, a closer look at some of the people, places, and things we bring you every weekend on Sunday morning. Actor Brendan Fraser built a blockbuster career in the 90s and early 2000s with hits like the Mummy franchise. But despite his outward success, on the inside, he wasn't comfortable with life at the top in Hollywood, as he told Lee Cowan.
I felt at that time that it wasn't enough. I wasn't big enough. I wasn't cut enough, or any of those adjectives. And the person that I saw and was trying to create wasn't an ideal in my mind. And how you contend with that.
Just how he contended with it was to back off, to reevaluate his priorities and let the Hollywood merry-go-round spin off on its own for a while.
I needed the music to stop, you know. We can put actors on pedestals and then knock them off so quickly and so easily. It's almost like that's the game. So I just got rid of the pedestal. I just wanted to be myself.
There's more from Lee's chat with Brendan Fraser coming up a little later in the show.
You've got 3 kids who weren't even around when some of your big movies came out. What did they think? Like, did they? Yeah?
That's Dad, you know, like, what did they think? I never really asked them what they thought. I remember when Holden saw The Mummy, it was playing on like a loop one holiday weekend on cable. He started watching it and he recognized me. And then something happened. I don't know, the Mummy showed up and he got really frightened because he was very small. And I said, "You don't like the movie?" He said, "No, it's too scary."
Plus, John Dickerson takes us to the Smithsonian for a look at 150 years of American pop culture.
Many are just a delight. There's Mr. Rogers' sweater, the signpost from MASH, and Howdy Doody. Others are trophies of triumph. Oprah's gold-plated microphone, Billie Jean King's Battle of the Sexes tennis outfit, and objects of genius, like Prince's guitar displayed alongside a hands-on replica.
It came to us in 1993. Prince gave it to us himself.
That's all coming up right here on Here Comes the Sun. Brendan Fraser is making waves with his film, The Whale. He plays an obese, housebound man named Charlie. And as he told Lee Cowan, it's his most challenging role yet.
We didn't expect Brendan Fraser to build us a fire, especially since he had a pretty nasty cold. But what we really didn't expect was for him to start quoting Herman Melville.
I know not all that may be coming, but come what will, I will go to it laughing. Herman Melville, 1851. The Whale.
That quote about accepting his future has meant a lot to him lately, ever since whispers of a Best Actor Oscar began sneaking through Hollywood for Fraser's latest movie.
That's like a tomorrow thing. I'm staying in today.
Before we show you his performance, just take a look at the reaction it's getting. A 6-minute standing ovation, first at the Venice Film Festival, and then a 5-minute one at the London Film Festival.
That was wholly unexpected.
It seemed very emotional for you, too.
I got choked up.
And chances are, you may get choked up too.
Do you ever get the feeling that people are incapable of not caring? People are amazing.
That's The Whale, from director Darren Aronofsky. It's the story of Charlie, a man living with obesity who's trying to right a few wrongs in his life.
I'm sorry.
Don't.
Fraser says it is the most demanding role of his long career, and one of the most controversial. He worked with the Obesity Action Coalition to make sure his performance of Charlie was done with respect and empathy.
I really hate you for putting me through this again, you know that?
But to some critics, that wasn't enough. They say the film, and Fraser's use of a so-called fat suit, still stigmatizes those with larger body types. Exactly what Fraser says he was trying to avoid.
It has us take a look at someone who we would otherwise just dismiss. I think this film has the ability to change hearts and minds about how we perceive those who live with obesity.
His return to the big screen has Hollywood calling it a comeback. His fans have a better name for it. They're calling it a Renaissance. Whatever it is, Charlie is certainly a far different character than the one he was playing back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Good catch.
He could just as easily go from George of the Jungle
Rubber tree. Always good for clothesline.
I am not your monster!
to holding his own with the likes of Oscar nominee Ian McKellen in the drama Gods and Monsters.
When you look back at yourself in the 90s, what do you think these days?
What do I think? I think that guy's really lucky. I think he's got awesome hair.
We are in serious trouble.
That hair, his good looks, and his swashbuckling demeanor made The Mummy a blockbuster.
Oh, I hate mummies.
Critics even started comparing him to Harrison Ford.
Here we go again.
And like Ford, Fraser reprised the role several times over.
Which is both a blessing and a curse, I guess. Or maybe there's no curse, I don't know.
The Curse of the Mummy.
Curse of the Mummy.
Oh.
Oh my God.
But his celebrity was quickly becoming a sandstorm, pelting him with self-doubt, he says, day after day.
I felt at that time that it wasn't enough. I wasn't big enough. I wasn't cut enough, or any of those adjectives. And the person that I saw and was trying to create wasn't an ideal in my mind. And how you contend with that.
Just how he contended with it was to back off, to reevaluate his priorities and let the Hollywood merry-go-round spin off on its own for a while.
I needed the music to stop, you know. We can put actors on pedestals and then knock them off so quickly and so easily. It's almost like that's the game. So I just got rid of the pedestal. I just wanted to be myself. I'm gonna put this over there and then miss like that.
Yeah.
So he picked up a hobby, archery. He says there's something about releasing an arrow into the wind that's become, for him anyway, both calming and cathartic.
Whistling arrowhead.
It's so cool.
That smile, though, quickly went away when our conversation turned to one of the most painful chapters in his life.
It was causing me emotional distress. It was causing me personal distress.
In 2003, he says the former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, Philip Burke, groped him during a luncheon at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Burke has consistently denied the allegations, saying he only pinched him as a joke. But to Fraser, the intent didn't matter.
But it sounded like it really derailed everything, right?
Well, yes, because there's a system in place that is about power. And I had played by the rules up until that point. And I felt like, okay, now suddenly I've been violated and it has gone too far and I will no longer abide this.
He waited 15 years before he finally went public in a 2018 GQ article. Had it not been for the Me Too movement, he says, he might not have come forward at all.
I spoke up because I saw so many of my friends and colleagues who at that time were bravely emerging to speak their truth to power, and I had something to say too.
The whale has something to say as well, he thinks.
You don't have to be angry at the whole world. You can just be angry at me.
Okay.
What he hopes audiences take away isn't pity, but an understanding that Charlie could be any one of us who loves, who cares, and grieves.
Trying to help.
Hey, Pee-wee, wanna go for a walk?
Brendan Fraser has been through all of that pain himself.
Pee-wee.
And is now coming out the other side.
Do you feel like those days of self-doubt when you were trying to step back from things to really focus on priorities, do you think those are behind you now, those days?
It feels like a new day, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It does. It feels like a new, better, beautiful day.
More exclusive excerpts from their conversation coming up a little later in the show. Up next, how pop culture influences and reflects America. A Smithsonian exhibit examines America's story as told through all things pop culture, from music and sports to moving images. John Dickerson has the story.
Enter the Smithsonian National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. later this week, and you'll be greeted by two friends. How do people react around them?
Well, I can describe my reaction.
What was your reaction?
Stunned.
John Troutman is a Smithsonian curator.
These are essential characters in my life.
Artu, what are you doing here? Well, I can see you're serving drinks, but this place is dangerous.
They have deeply impacted my soul.
The R2-D2 and C-3PO from Star Wars Return of the Jedi are part of the Smithsonian's new exhibition, Entertainment Nation, Nación del Espectáculo, a bilingual examination of 150 years of U.S. history through its music, sports, and moving images. In our larger American story, what do you think Star Wars did for us?
That's a great question, and I think that it was top on the mind of George Lucas. He had begun writing the first film in 1973, and of course, in 1973, a lot was happening in the United States. The U.S. was, still deeply involved in the Vietnam War. He was concerned about the future of the Republic.
Even our escapes from history are a part of our history, says museum director and historian Anthea Harding.
Popular culture tells us many things about ourselves, who we want to be, how we treat our children, how we treat our elders.
And sometimes the more than 200 different objects speak with each other.
The same year Star Wars came out was the same year of Roots.
In the same year, America was captivated by a fantasy and a brutal reality. In 1949, in the same year Jackie Robinson was setting records on the base paths, he was also called to testify against a friend in a congressional witch hunt for communists in the entertainment business.
We can win our fight without the communists, and we don't want their help.
Not all of the objects are challenging. Many are just a delight. There's Mr. Rogers' sweater, the signpost from MASH, and Howdy Doody. Others are trophies of triumph. Oprah's gold-plated microphone, Billie Jean King's Battle of the Sexes tennis outfit, and objects of genius, like Prince's guitar displayed alongside a hands-on replica.
It came to us in 1993. Prince gave it to us himself.
Music curator Crystal Klingenberg says the yellow guitar was white in the film Purple Rain and was repainted repeatedly to match Prince's ever-changing looks.
The guitar has 7 layers of paint, and we have a variety of colors all the way through down to the white.
Place Prince in popular music for us.
Prince is a fascinating character who really married not only the mystery and the sexuality of the rock star, but also the virtuosity of the composer and of the musician. There's something about seeing the real deal in front of you that can transport you in time and place.
And even help visitors imagine what might have been. Included in the collection is the outfit Selena wore to the 1994 Tejano Music Awards, a year before she was murdered in 1995 at age 23 and at the height of her career by the founder of her fan club.
Selena becomes not only this story of incredible talent and promise, but also the tragedy of all of that promise gone too soon.
No item speaks to visitors more than the ruby slippers worn by Judy Garland in the 1939 MGM classic, The Wizard of Oz.
We see people crying when they see them because they're very meaningful to them in childhood, perhaps, or because they're just so invested in the story as well.
Give them back to me or I'll... It's too late. There they are, and there they'll stay.
And when they were temporarily placed off display for a few months this year as we were building the new exhibition, all havoc ensued. Where are the ruby slippers? Why aren't they on display right now? But fortunately, now they are on display for 20 years.
By then, many of the visitors will need a parent or grandparent to explain why certain items are so important, to explain how simple objects could unlock a kid's imagination about what he might do in the future. an object, say, like this one.
With The Whale, I knew that it would give me an opportunity to perform again for the big screen, and I wanted to.
We'll have more with Brendan Fraser coming up next. Stay with us. Welcome back. As promised, here's more from Lee Cowan and Brendan Fraser, who, as you'll hear, was battling a cold when they sat down to chat.
You've obviously been doing tons of projects. You've never stopped working, and yet a lot of people are seeing this performance as a homecoming of sort or a reemergence of sort. What do you think about that?
I was never that far away. I think that I am always glad to have a job when I get one, and it's always the most important one that I'll focus on, and that's just my work ethic, I guess. Your careers go up and down, no matter what your profession, and I've always been lucky enough to keep busy with a project, either in working in voiceover or a limited series with a director who I greatly admire to learn something new. But with The Whale, I knew that it would give me an opportunity to perform again for the big screen, and I wanted to give everything I had to do it.
And that, it looks like you did. Seems like you did.
I didn't have anything left when we were done.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you ever had that feeling before?
No.
Being that empty?
No. No.
Really?
And that's just because Darren's standards are pretty high, and he likes to shoot many takes. And climax of the reconciliation of his journey is when he apologizes to his daughter. And we shot Sadie's side one morning, and then we needed to break it up and move ahead to something else, and then turn around later and come on my side. And it was at the end of the run of the show, and I was all pedal and no gas. I mean, I was tapped out. And I did give the performance that I knew I had because we rehearsed it. It was what was correct to pay it off.
Yeah.
And I didn't have it there. And Darren said, how you doing? He could tell that I wasn't clearly, I told you, he sees everything. Like, I wasn't delivering the goods. And so he said, take 5. I sat by myself on the set quietly and had a little chat with myself. Fraser, get it together. This is the time. But if you feel fatigue or you just don't have it in you, you don't. And I felt like I failed. And he came back. We tried it again. It wasn't right. He said, okay, we're going to break for lunch. And he spoke to me and said, look, you peaked. It happens. He named actors he'd worked with. He said, the right thing to do is retreat. We'll come back to it tomorrow and try again. And I told him that is the kindest thing a director has ever done for me. And he said, I'm not being kind. I'm just protecting the performance. I'm protecting the movie. And I can respect that. But at the same time, I'm going to disagree with him and say it's still the kindest thing to give me another bite at the apple. So I did come back the next day, and we did get it at the top of the day. And it completed the journey. And he later told me that his hope was that, overnight when he tells his actor that you don't go home and turn it over in your head and psych yourself out,
Right. You've got 3 kids who weren't even around when some of your big movies came out. What did they think? Like, did they? Yeah?
That was Dad. What did they think? I never really asked them what they thought. I remember when Holden saw The Mummy, it was playing on like a loop one holiday weekend on cable. He started watching it and he recognized me. And then something happened. I don't know, The Mummy showed up and he got really frightened because he was very small. And I said, you don't like the movie? He said, no, it's too scary. I was like, it is a scary movie. And at that time, I was working with Harrison Ford. And I told him this, and he said the same thing about Star Wars. He's like, it is a scary movie for little kids.
What were you working with Harrison Ford on?
It was a film called Extraordinary Measures.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Did you like him?
Absolutely, it's Harrison Ford. Are you kidding?
I know. I was like,
he called me one weekend and he says, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you need me to do?" He's like, "Can you get to the airport?" Sure. He's like, "Okay, now." All right. So I got in a cab, and he wanted to go for a ride in one of his airplanes. About inside an hour later, I was riding shotgun with Harrison in his plane, flying around Portland. He gave me the stick for a while. I was like, "I'm Chewbacca." You know? It's all coming together.
I'm Tracy Smith. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you here next time on Here Comes the Sun.